Remember when there seemed to be a Walgreens or CVS on every corner? It felt like you couldn't walk a few blocks in any city without seeing one of these familiar red and blue signs. They were as ubiquitous as fast food chains, offering a quick stop for everything from prescriptions to snacks. Those days might be numbered. Walgreens recently announced plans to close a staggering 2,150 stores by 2027. That's not just a few locations here and there. It's a significant reduction in their physical presence. Imagine the impact on communities that have come to rely on these stores for their daily needs. That's a lot of shuttered storefronts. CVS is also scaling back, with plans to close 900 stores over the next few years. These closures are part of a broader trend affecting the retail industry, often referred to as the retail apocalypse. But when it comes to pharmacies, the stakes are even higher. This news might not be surprising if you've been following the retail apocalypse. We've seen countless stores, from big box retailers to small mom-and-pop shops, close their doors in recent years. The rise of e-commerce and changing consumer habits have reshaped the retail landscape. But the closure of pharmacies, especially on this scale, is a big deal. Pharmacies are more than just retail stores. They are essential healthcare providers. They offer vital services like prescription refills, vaccinations, and health consultations. When a pharmacy closes, it can create a healthcare desert, leaving residents without easy access to these critical services. It raises questions about access to healthcare, the future of retail, and what happens when corporate giants start to shrink. For many people, especially the elderly and those with chronic conditions, the local pharmacy is a lifeline. The closures could force them to travel further for their medications, which isn't always feasible. So what's driving these closures? The answer, like most things in life, is complicated. It's a mix of financial pressures, evolving consumer habits, and a changing healthcare landscape. Let's break it down. Financially, both Walgreens and CVS have been facing significant challenges. The cost of operating physical stores is high, and with declining foot traffic, it's becoming harder to justify keeping so many locations open. Additionally, the reimbursement rates for prescriptions have been decreasing, squeezing profit margins even further. Consumer habits are also shifting. More people are turning to online shopping for their healthcare needs. Online pharmacies and delivery services offer convenience that traditional brick-and-mortar stores struggle to match. Plus, the pandemic has accelerated the adoption of telehealth services, reducing the need for in-person visits to the pharmacy. The healthcare landscape is evolving too. Pharmacies are increasingly becoming healthcare hubs, offering services like walk-in clinics and wellness programs. While this is a positive development, it also means that pharmacies need to invest more in their facilities and staff, adding to their operational costs. Buckle up, because we're about to dive deep into the world of pharmacy economics, and trust me, it's more interesting and depressing than you might think. We'll explore how these closures could reshape the healthcare landscape, the potential impact on communities, and what the future holds for these retail giants. Stay tuned as we unravel the complex web of factors driving the shrinking footprint of Walgreens and CVS. Both Walgreens and CVS are facing some serious financial headwinds. These two retail giants, known for their widespread presence and convenience, are now grappling with a series of economic challenges that threaten their stability and future growth. The landscape of retail pharmacy is shifting, and these companies are feeling the pressure from multiple fronts. Their profits aren't what they used to be, and Wall Street investors are getting antsy. The once steady and reliable revenue streams are now fluctuating, causing unease among shareholders. Investors are closely monitoring quarterly earnings reports, and the numbers are not painting a rosy picture. The stock prices of both companies have seen volatility, reflecting the market's uncertainty about their financial health. Closing stores is a way to cut costs and try to boost those bottom lines. However, this strategy comes with its own set of challenges. Each store closure not only impacts the local community but also signals a retreat in market presence. For loyal customers, the closure of a nearby store can be a significant inconvenience, potentially driving them to competitors. Moreover, the process of closing a store involves severance packages, lease terminations, and other logistical hurdles that can be costly. One major issue is that reimbursement rates for prescription drugs are falling. This decline is largely driven by changes in healthcare policies and insurance company practices. As insurers negotiate lower rates, pharmacies are left with slimmer margins. This trend is particularly troubling for pharmacies that rely heavily on prescription sales as a primary revenue source. This means that pharmacies are making less money on each prescription they fill. The impact is felt across the board, from large chains to independent pharmacies. For every prescription dispensed, the profit margin is shrinking, making it harder to cover operational costs and invest in other areas of the business. That's a problem when dispensing medications is a core part of your business. Pharmacies are not just retail stores, they are healthcare providers. The role of the pharmacist extends beyond simply handing over medication. They provide essential services such as patient counseling, medication management, and health screenings. With reduced profits, maintaining these services becomes increasingly challenging. On top of that, operating costs are rising. The cost of doing business is escalating in various areas. From utilities to supplies, every aspect of running a pharmacy is becoming more expensive. This includes the cost of technology and software needed to manage prescriptions and patient records efficiently. Think rent, labor, and those little plastic bottles they put your pills in. It all adds up. Rent prices, especially in prime locations, are soaring. Labor costs are also on the rise as minimum wage laws change and the demand for skilled workers increases. Even the seemingly insignificant costs like the plastic bottles used for prescriptions contribute to the overall financial burden. And in a tight labor market, attracting and retaining qualified pharmacists and technicians is becoming increasingly expensive. The competition for skilled healthcare professionals is fierce. Pharmacies must offer competitive salaries, benefits, and incentives to attract top talent. This adds another layer of financial strain as they strive to maintain a high standard of service. Basically, Walgreens and CVS are caught in a financial squeeze. They are navigating a complex web of economic pressures that are squeezing their profit margins from all sides. The challenge is to find a balance between cutting costs and maintaining the quality of service that customers expect. They're getting squeezed on both ends, lower revenue and higher costs, and something has to give. The future of these retail giants depends on their ability to adapt to these financial pressures. Whether through innovation, strategic partnerships, or new business models, they must find ways to sustain their operations and continue serving their communities. The road ahead is uncertain, but with resilience and strategic planning, they can navigate these turbulent times. Remember the retail apocalypse? It's still happening, and pharmacies aren't immune to its effects. The rise of online shopping has hit brick-and-mortar stores hard, and even essential businesses like pharmacies are feeling the heat. Amazon, with its vast selection and convenient delivery, is a major disruptor in the pharmacy space. Why go to the store when you can get your toothpaste, shampoo, and prescription meds all delivered to your doorstep with just a few clicks? This shift to online shopping has made those impulse purchases of candy bars, magazines, and greeting cards much less frequent. And let's be honest, those markups on non-essential items are where pharmacies make a lot of their profit. So, while people still need prescriptions filled, the way they shop for everything else is changing, and that's significantly impacting the bottom line of traditional pharmacies. Now let's talk about PBMs, pharmacy benefit managers. These entities play a crucial yet often hidden role in the healthcare system. These are the often overlooked middlemen in the pharmaceutical supply chain. They act as intermediaries between insurers, pharmacies, and drug manufacturers, orchestrating the flow of medications from production to patient. They're the ones negotiating drug prices with manufacturers and setting reimbursement rates for pharmacies. This means they have significant influence over how much you pay for your prescriptions and how much pharmacies earn from dispensing them. PBMs have a lot of power, and they've been using it to drive down the prices they pay to pharmacies for dispensing medications. This is done under the guise of reducing costs for insurers and patients, but the reality is more complex. This puts a further squeeze on pharmacy profits, making it harder for them to stay afloat. Independent pharmacies in particular are feeling the pinch, struggling to compete with larger chains that can absorb the financial hit. Critics argue that PBMs are more concerned with their own profits than with ensuring patients have affordable access to medications. They claim that the savings PBMs negotiate are not always passed down to consumers but rather are pocketed as profit. They point to the opaque contracts and complex rebate systems that make it difficult to understand how drug prices are determined. These contracts often include clauses that prevent pharmacies from disclosing pricing details to patients, adding to the confusion. So, while PBMs might not be a household name, they're playing a significant role in the financial pressures facing Walgreens and CVS. These large pharmacy chains are not immune to the tactics of PBMs, and their stock prices can be affected by the negotiations and reimbursement rates set by these middlemen. For patients, this can mean higher out-of-pocket costs and limited access to certain medications. When pharmacies are squeezed, they may reduce hours, cut staff, or even close locations, which can limit access to essential medications, especially in rural or underserved areas. Lawmakers and regulators are starting to take notice. There have been calls for greater transparency in PBM operations and for reforms that would ensure savings are passed on to consumers. Some states have already enacted legislation aimed at curbing PBM practices that are seen as harmful to pharmacies and patients. Advocacy groups are also pushing for change, arguing that the current system is unsustainable and unfair. They believe that a more transparent and equitable system would benefit everyone, from patients to pharmacies to the healthcare system as a whole. As the debate continues, it's clear that the role of PBMs in the healthcare system is a critical issue that affects millions of people. Understanding their impact is the first step towards meaningful reform. In the end, the goal should be to create a system where patients can access the medications they need at a fair price, pharmacies can operate sustainably, and the overall healthcare system can function more efficiently. The conversation around PBMs is just one part of this larger puzzle, but it's an important one that deserves our attention. So next time you pick up a prescription, remember the unseen forces at play. The middlemen, the PBMs, are shaping the landscape of drug pricing and access, and their influence is felt far and wide. By shedding light on their practices, we can work towards a more transparent and fair system that prioritizes the health and well-being of patients above all else. The journey to reform is long, but with awareness and advocacy, change is possible. Let's continue to push for a healthcare system that works for everyone. The conversation around PBMs is evolving, and with it, the potential for a more equitable future in healthcare. Stay informed, stay engaged, and together, we can make a difference.